Alright. So the professor and the flea dreamed of getting to the other side of the world, to this place they heard of called paradise. A place where nothing bad ever happened. But still, it was in the world. It's a little bit clunky there, but the whole idea is a paradox is an impossible situation that somehow manages to be true. When they finally got there, they found that the island of paradise was inhabited by natives. Synesthesia is one of my favorite kinds of metaphors. It's when one type of my words are just escaping today. It is when one sense experience is likened to a different sense experience. So it would be saying something like yellow music, because music, of course, is by your ear, yellow is by your eye. You could say, not sweet. Well, you could say dulcet spaghetti. Dulcet pasta sauce. Dulcet is sweet, sweet to the ear. Pasta sauce, of course, would be sweet to the tongue. So synesthesia, and people do use it, I promise. You will find it in The Great Gatsby. There we are. It is liking one kind of sense experience to a different kind of sense experience. So when they got to the island of paradise beneath the dulcet sun, they found that the island was inhabited by natives. The natives were ruled over by a princess who took quite a fancy to the flea and adopted him as her own pet. Metonymity versus synecdoche. Alright, metonymity is using something close to the actual object that you're referring to, or the actual idea that you're referring to, as so it would be, instead of saying the King of England came to the little town of New York City, and it would be saying the Crown of England came to the little town of New York City. So that's using something close to the king, his crown, as an actual substitute for the king. Synecdoche is using a part of the whole to refer to the whole. So an example of synecdoche would be hired hands. Obviously you're hiring the whole person, you are paying a whole person to dig out your garden for you. But you would say, I have hired hands digging out my garden for me. So the difference between the two is metonymity uses something close to the actual object, person, or idea to refer to the person or idea. Synecdoche uses a part of the person or idea to refer to the whole. So in this case, we could say the crown of the natives decided that the flea was a wonderful insect and adopted him as her own pet. Alright, let's see if we can, what's another possibility? Oh, okay. So instead of saying the crown of the natives, we'll say the, okay, the heart, the princess's heart, took a fancy to the flea and decided to adopt him as her own mascot. So we're using the heart of the princess to refer to the whole princess taking a fancy to the flea, and that would be synecdoche. Finally, the professor got tired of being in paradise. He decided it was just a little too much, and he missed his flea. So he told the princess, if you get me silk, needle, and thread, I will make a cannon so big that you will have never seen anything like it before, and the flea will fire it off for you. So they brought him the materials he asked for, and of course, he started to make a balloon. And he thought, as he made the balloon, I need the flea. As the balloon got bigger and bigger, the professor said, I need the flea. Finally, as the balloon was finished, the professor said to the princess, "I need the flea." Alright, so here's the idea of repetition. Repetition is wonderful. I talked about the rules of 3 in the previous morning message or weekly update. Anytime something is repeated more than twice, take a look at it, circle it, take a look at it, see what it's leading towards. Repetition is meant to emphasize something and to lead towards something. And repetition can be in sound, can be something like alliteration or assonance. And assonance has to do with repeated vowel sounds. Consonance is repeated consonant sounds. Alliteration is when words begin with the same letter and follow each other. So it might be something like calm, caring cat, or toasty tibbits touching Timbuktu. Those repeated beginning sounds, whether they are consonants or vowels, is alliteration. But anytime something is repeated, whether it is a symbol, whether it is a phrase, whether it is a word, you need to pay attention because something is about to happen. And it does. Okay, so the balloon is finished. The professor says, "I need the flea." And the princess finally gives him up on the understanding that they would be coming back. That this cannon would just shoot off into the atmosphere and then return like a boomerang. The princess and the natives cut the ropes free. The professor waved. The flea waved. And they all waved back as the balloon went off into the horizon. The end. Alright. So now we're going to quickly talk about style and diction. Diction is an important part of style, so we'll just kind of flip them. A style is the writer's fingerprint. It is everything that makes the writer who they are. It is how they use metaphors, the type of analogies they use, the type of allusions they use. One of my favorite writers ever, Dorothy Sayers, read a lot of classical poetry growing up. She was really fond of John Donne, which you read last week. She translated Paradise Lost by Milton. She loved classical poetry. And if you read her mystery fiction, there's all kinds of allusions to classical poetry. Even though, her mystery stories are light and fun, they're not meant to be, this is John Donne in a mystery story. But everything that makes Dorothy Sayers, specifically Dorothy Sayers, her allusions, her diction, we'll talk about that in a second, her use of similes, metaphors, analogies, use of sound, assonance, consonants, alliteration, the way she does all of that makes up her style. Diction! Yay! Diction is word choice in a story. And it's important to remember that words have 2 levels of meaning. There's connotation and denotation. Denotation is the dictionary meaning. It is X equals Z. Connotation is everything surrounding Z. So, alright. We'll just put that on my stomach. You can't see it. It's fine. Alright. Pasta sauce. Pasta sauce is literally diced tomatoes, virgin olive oil, Parmesan cheese, garlic, dried onion, spices, and it contains milk. That is the dictionary meaning of pasta sauce. But if we think about pasta sauce, this idea will bring up other ideas in your head. You might think about your best friend's birthday party last week when you had pasta sauce on spaghetti. You might think about the time that you spilled spaghetti sauce all over the floor and had to stay home from your favorite sports game because you were in trouble. This idea of pasta sauce, this word, will bring up connotations in your mind. And that's kind of how connotation works. Remember, we talked about allusions at the very beginning of our story together. Allusions with that card. Connotation and allusions are very related because words don't exist independently. They exist in this big world of books and ideas, allusions that you can almost always depend on your audience getting, for instance, come from fairy tales and the Bible, and for us in the United States, a lot of allusions having to do with Abraham Lincoln or the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, we will get. We know where those allusions fit in the larger world, the larger web of ideas. In the same way, these words, every word has a specific place in this big web of ideas. And even though its exact geographical location, its exact meaning is the denotation, the dictionary meaning, where it fits in the world and what it touches, and what is more important than this word, what is less important than this word, how does this word relate to me at this point in my life. That's kind of how connotation works. So as you look at the readings that we're doing this week, as you look back at the poem you did last week, think about your style. I'm just going to try to find this card again. Here we are. Think about your style. Think about how you are using these literary techniques. Think about what we can figure out about the authors and the poets you're reading based on their style, based on their diction, based on the connotation and denotation of the words they use. Alright folks, it's been fun. I'm going to drink more tea now, and enjoy your week. Bye-bye.